Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, October 30th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines remains under an indefinite flash flood warning as unstable conditions associated with the tail end of a tropical wave continues to affect the islands. The SVG Met Services said breezy conditions, light to heavy showers, periods of intermittent rain, and isolated thunderstorms are anticipated across St. Vincent and the Grenadines due to instability associated with the tail end of the wave and a favorable upper-level environment. Rainfall accumulations of approximately 3 inches with isolated higher amounts in mountainous areas are possible within the next 24 hours. During the last 24 hours, rainfall accumulation of near 5 inches have been recorded by some stations across the mainland, and there have been reports of flash flooding, land slippage, which led to the inaccessible roads, raging rivers, and damage to properties in various communities. In addition, wind speeds of approximately 20 to 25 miles per hour with higher gusts near showers are expected to continue across SVG this afternoon and tonight. Due to the saturated nature of the soils, any additional rainfall accompanied by these wind speeds could lead to additional flooding and further damage. Residents and motorists in areas prone to flooding and landslides or near rivers and streams should continue to be vigilant and take the necessary precautionary measures to protect life and property. Due to the expected gusty winds, vulnerable plant trees may fall and overhead wires may become disconnected. Residents therefore advised to be vigilant and secure all loose objects. And more than 20 communities were affected by rains and strong winds yesterday, resulting in landslides, downed trees and power lines, as well as damage to roofs and agriculture. Teams from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, and the Building, Roads and General Services Authority, BRAXA, were out in the field today doing assessments. SVG-TV news team visited some of the affected communities, and we hear more in this report from Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
Trees were uprooted, landslides made roads inaccessible, raging rivers and flooding caused damage to properties across mainland St. Vincent. Some of the affected communities include Mesopotamia, Lacroix, Cedars, Newgrounds, Byra and Greggs. In Greggs, residents headed by Sion Phillips began work from as early as 5 a.m. as they came together to remove fallen trees and clear the roads.
I got my friend Kieran to get out his truck and let's see what we can do. So we're just making some cleanup. This is our third batch we're doing for the morning.
Phillips said that the damage was extensive.
A few parcels lost their roofs and stuff like that, but on the road it's just basically trees, a few landslides. It's somewhat damaged still, but I think we can cope with it.
What was noticeable was the damage done to banana plants, which were flattened by the strong winds. One farmer said this is the first time she was experiencing such damage to her bananas.
My name is Raquel Walter from North Union, and we are affected by the strong wind that passes 7 to 8 o'clock last night. Damaged the plant in them. Some about 10 bunches.
The Ministry of Agriculture has since asked farmers who suffered loss to report their damage to the agriculture stations at Walilabu on telephone number 456-0310, Dumbarton 458-5326 and Newgrounds at telephone number 451-1683. Director of NEMO Michelle Forbes said that preliminary assessment was done today and that the majority of damage was from the winds.
Winds because we had a few landslides, but the winds seem to have had the more impact. Last night we would have had some strong gusts up to about 37 miles per hour thereabout in those areas. So this morning we would have done some preliminary assessment in Hadley's Village, Diamond, and some other nearby communities. And we also met the Damage and Needs Assessment Committee of the National Structure met at 10:30 this morning. And
Forbes is again asking persons to be cautious in areas that are prone to flooding.
And gusty winds overnight into the weekend. So we're asking persons to be vigilant, take the necessary precaution. If you know your house roof would have been damaged before, to seek alternative accommodation if you have not done so, because the debris and the galvanized can be flying and actually cause further damage to you and you if you're there, and even further damage your property.
For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
And several houses, particularly in the South Central Windward districts, lost their roofs and sustained other damage in strong winds associated with the passage of a tropical wave, which began affecting the islands yesterday. A number of families were forced to move into hurricane shelters, and today persons began cleaning the mess and assessing their loss. We hear more in this report.
The roofs of houses were reportedly blown off, with the majority being in the South Central Windward. SVG-TV spoke with two of the affected residents. Diamond's resident Hilda Rogers, a 62-year-old woman, said it was a scary experience. The strong winds, which started just before 7 p.m., tore the roof from her house.
I heard an uproar, so I had some galvanized to the back of the house. So I said, probably is the galvanized them behind there. So while I was sitting right in front of my door here, I just saw the piece of roof that just came and landed right here in front of the yard. And so I said, oh my God. So I just stretched out my hand and I said, Jesus, you have to take over this, you know. And there was a kind of a calm. But when my son went outside, he said, Mommy, the whole roof gone already, you know. While I was there, I saw fire start pitching on the galvanized that was lying in the front of the yard, and then I said I had to call the Vinlek people.
Rogers said that she did not go to the shelter but moved to the downstairs of the house, which eventually got soaked.
Everything upstairs got wet down, and the rooms was flooding and so on. So I just, my cousin came and she helped me to bail out the water. So we just came down from upstairs to, from bailing out the water out the rooms.
She doesn't know how much loss she has suffered. A few gaps away, another elderly woman lived in the upper floor of her two-story house. She also lost the roof to the strong winds at around the same time. Her daughter explains.
So the roof coming off downstairs, and then I went inside, and then I heard like a scream upstairs and say, come, and you know, open the door. When you open the door, Mommy come down. When she come down, when they say the roof coming off upstairs, so I said, well, okay, come inside and stay inside until everything. Then my neighbor came downstairs too and say, piece of the roof come on her house, which is Idola. And then we're inside, and then they're saying that, oh, the roof coming off more, and you know. So we tell them just stay put, stay there and stuff until everything ceases down. We'll go outside when the rain over.
The daughter said that she is lucky that no one was injured.
The whole roof from that side over there fly off. We don't clean up the road, nobody couldn't pass, no vehicle couldn't pass. So we're just trying to clean up some bits and pieces. Downstairs leaking. So we're trying to dig a hole so the water could run out from the inside and stuff like that. We bed wet up. Everything you have to stay wet up. The chairs, and if you notice, I don't know, some of the cushion covers and the cushions there.
Both residents said that incumbent MP for the area, Sabota Caesar, visited them, as did officials from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, and BRAGSA. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
The strong also affected Vinlec's customers as several lines were brought down. Communications officer Tamara Job-Sprott said that just about 70 to 80% of its customers currently have electricity. Vinlec is working to have electricity fully restored by later this evening or tomorrow.
We still have some customers who are out, and we have some customers who have been out for prolonged periods. We've had reports of damaged poles, downed power lines, damaged meter structures, and down poles, which we have been working on all day. At this time, we have 3 teams in the field, and we also have some contractors who are working to restore as many customers as they can this evening. There are some customers who are still out in areas such as Green Hill, Edinburgh. We have reports of customers out in Fair Hall, Redemption Shops, Green Hill, and a few other localized areas. But we want to remind persons that they can give us a call at 4561540, or you can send us a WhatsApp message to report false. And just to remind persons to be safe, and we encourage you not to touch or go close to downed lines or poles. Our emergency service is available 24/7.
And the house of single mother of 3 in Prospect was burnt to the ground yesterday. And Zelia Green is now looking for help to rebuild from scratch.
Just after 2 yesterday afternoon, Azila Green of Prospect got a call from her neighbor to say that her house was on fire. When she got home, the fire truck was on the scene but was unable to save anything from a 2-bedroom concrete house.
The fire brigade passed and I said, oh my God, somebody else on fire. When I got that call, as I reached home, it was down, lost everything. 3 fire brigade came, everything burned.
The 42-year-old single mother of 3 said that she still cannot come to grips with the thought that her home, in which she has resided all her life, was destroyed.
Only the good Lord know. Yeah, only here I can depend on right now. Only he alone know what happened. I just don't know what happened. Can't say what happened.
Her 2 eldest sons, who rear animals for a living, were in the yard. They were not harmed and are grateful for life. She is now residing temporarily with a neighbor.
Just if I could get a help to start back over, because it's hard at this age and this time to start back over, but have to try. You know, God is good.
Green said she welcomes any help at the moment, as she will like to rebuild, but she does not have a permanent job.
I don't have a job, but sometimes I get a little job here and there, especially with the government on road work as a timekeeper. And I went for the money yesterday that I work for, and go somewhere and do something, and then just got a phone call.
The incumbent parliamentary representative for the constituency has since visited her and has offered to help. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
In other news, the Caribbean Community CARICOM will be sending a mission to observe the November 5th general elections here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A release from the Agency for Public Information said that the mission was slated to arrive in SVG yesterday, Thursday, October 29th, but will instead arrive this Sunday, November 1st, and remain until November the 7th. No reason was given for the change schedule. The mission will include former Trinidad and Tobago Government Minister and MP Edmund Dillon and its former Elections and Boundaries Commission Chief Elections Officer Ramesh Nan. The observers are expected to hold a press conference on November 6th at the Beachcombers Hotel. The TNT Newsday newspaper said all costs for the mission will be covered by contributions from CARICOM member states. On Sunday, November 1st, 2020, St. Vincent and the Grenadines will assume the presidency of the United Nations Security Council for 1 month ending November 30th, 2020. This is SVG's first and only presidency during the country's stint on the council and forms part of its responsibility as a non-permanent member. An Agency for Public Information news release states that this country's month-long presidency of the United Nations Security Council aims to address contemporary challenges, which include pandemics, environmental challenges, climate change, and its security consequences, and the nexus between development and peace and security. Key events for the period include a news briefing on Monday, November 2nd at 1 p.m. to be conducted by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, as well as a signature event on Tuesday, November 3rd at 8:30 a.m. This will be a virtual Security Council open debate under the agenda theme, Peace Building and Sustainable Peace, Contemporary Drivers of Conflict and Insecurity. Prime Minister Gonsalves will chair the virtual debate. On Wednesday, November 4th, there will be a meeting of the police commissions of the United Peace peacekeeping missions intended to highlight issues affecting Haiti, and another meeting on November 16 that will focus on peace and security in Africa. St. Vincent and the Grenadines was officially elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and officially assumed its position on January 2nd, 2020. Its membership will run for 2 years, culminating on December 31st, 2021. The OECS Commission hosted a virtual flag raising ceremony on October 27th in honor of SVG's 41st anniversary of independence. Director General of the OECS, Dr. Didicus Jules, said the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have over the past 41 years drawn on the historical resolve of their ancestry to chart an increasingly progressive path of national development.
In these 41 years, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has faced every adversity head-on, seeking to navigate an uncertain and sometimes treacherous water of international diplomacy, unfair trade practices, and impositions by the dominants that seek to keep us in a condition of subordination. The theme of your 41st anniversary, with strength, honor, and dignity, we stand resolute at 41 and beyond, resonates at this point in our history, given the unprecedented challenges that we face today. For small island developing states like ours, our strength can never be in the might of weapons that we possess because we have none. It does not reside in the extent of our landmass or the size of our population, because they are both infinitesimal in the global scale of things. Our strength, and in particular the strength of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, lies in our DNA of resistance and resilience.
Dr. Jules said over the past 41 years, SVG has also demonstrated its strength, displayed its honor, and found its dignity.
Every one of your leaders on this path have paved their own portion of this road, and so we salute them all for the resolution with which you now stand at 41. Given this trajectory, we expect that the next 41 years will be one of exponential accomplishments that will demonstrate to the world that the power of a nation truly lies in the strength of spirit and character of its people and the strategic resolve of its leadership. Happy 41st anniversary.
Speaking at the virtual ceremony, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said over the years since the reclamation of independence, the nation has made immense progress in life, living, production, and good governance, and more particularly in the last 20 years.
Overwhelming evidence is all before us. The considerable progress has been effected despite awesome challenges arising from the limitations of size and material resources, the debilitating legacies of history, the collapse of the preferential market in Britain for bananas, the deleterious impacts of climate change and natural disasters, the global economic depression of 2008 and continuing, turmoil and contradictions in the global political economy, and the prevalence of devastating global pandemics, including COVID-19. Despite all these challenges and more, our people collectively have worked hard and smart to build their lives, their communities, and their nation to a high level of human development according to the United Nations Development Program, UNDP.
The SVG Community College hosted a Meet the Leaders session today, in which the staff and students heard presentations and got the opportunity to ask questions of the leaders of the two main political parties, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves of the Unity Labour Party and Dr. Godwin Freddy of the New Democratic Party. In his presentation, Dr. Gonsalves told the students electing a government is serious business, one to which much considerations must be given. He told the students that they must look at the foundation and principles which guide the party, its leader and candidates, noting that the ULP's vision is people-centered. Dr. Gonzalez said they have been able to lift the productive base of the country over the years, built on successive generations in a sustainable manner.
You are telling me that what I must do, I must sell the instruments of sovereignty and independence. I must sell the sacraments of nationhood, the passport and citizenship, in order to live. But they're the very things that make us live. They're the very things which keep us alive. And you can't subvert those things. If you subvert them, you do so at your peril. And you always put in the hands of others your own destiny, rather than you building it with hard and smart work.
Dr. Gonzalez said the ULP has also been able to build a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy, which is at once national, regional, and international, and that in order to build such an economy, a number of things had to be done, including the building of an education revolution.
Because less than 40 out of every 100 12-year-olds were not at secondary school. I had to put all of them in. Because only 20 out of every 100 3 to under 5-year-olds were in a preschool. I had to get them to where we are now, over 90%. Because when you go to early childhood institution, you get what is called a head start. All the educationists teach you that. And I have to build secondary schools. Let me tell you this. I didn't have the money to build the secondary schools with concrete. I build them with board.
During the question and answer segment of the session with PM Gonzalez, he was asked why students at the Division of Nursing Education are receiving a stipend, but not those at the Division of Teacher Education.
It's a historic issue, and I admit that consideration ought to be given to the teachers, to the teaching staff, the teaching students. And I'll say this, I raised this with the students the last time, about 2 years ago. They said they were particularly concerned when they were doing the practicums. And I opened up a line of assistance for them. But apparently, the state authorities, the public servants, seem not to have informed the college and the students that it was no one-off, it's continuing.
And the leader of the New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Freddy, told the college students that a good leader recognizes that the people are the most important part of the process of the development of the country and of the government, and that the development should be for them and about them. Speaking on SVG's development, Dr. Freddy said, though the country has come a long way, it is currently in a difficult state, which has been compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Our current poor economic situation has left many of those who have graduated before you without any real possibilities or opportunities to find work. Our unemployment rate prior to the pandemic in 2017 for the general population was 26%. That is worse than it was in 2001 when it was around 20%, already too high, but it got worse. For young people, youth between the ages of 15 and 24, the rate as reported by the International Monetary Fund at that time, that's 3 years ago, was actually 46% of the persons were unemployed, which means roughly half of the young people couldn't find work. That has gotten worse since the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are in a real crisis.
Addressing the poverty assessment, which he said was conducted in 2018, but which the government failed to complete and have published, Dr. Freddy said the information from the assessment not only shows a high rate of poverty, but that the country is going in the wrong direction.
Many of our young people who leave school and get a job, as I say, a little hold on in the YES program, are currently being paid at a rate that is below the poverty line, which is $450, but the poverty line figure is $562. That is not a situation that we can tolerate, certainly one that I would not. We also are the highest taxed and lowest paid in the OECS. This is a recipe for economic hardship for our people.
During the question and answer segment of the session, Dr. Freddy was asked to explain his party's position on forging ties with mainland China, which they claim is being seen as a bully.
The concerns that were raised about China or any other country where we have difficulty with the way in which they have conducted themselves that are a concern for us, then obviously in government we have to review whether our policies would be aligned with those countries or not. It is not a question of saying that you have diplomatic relations or no. It's how you use those relations to change your own circumstances as a country and to impress upon others the conduct that the international community would request of them. But if you're asking me the question with a presumption in it of a decision one way or another, that would only happen, any decision, if we're in office. But right now, our position is that we have had very long-standing relationship with China, with Taiwan, and as a government, we continue those relationships currently, and in opposition, we have continued to play our role in respect of those when we're in government.
And the East Kingston Constituency Manifesto of the Unity Labour Party, also called the 10-point plans for the next 5 years, was launched yesterday at the French's House under the campaign themes, Making a Difference and Our Time to Shine. ULP candidate for East Kingston, Luke Brown, said his mission for the next 5 years is making a difference in people's lives. He said his motivation comes from reading and studying the scriptures, and he made specific reference to St. Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 to 16. Brown said that he is also motivated by reading from what his father called most excellent way to lead.
And what should be our mission? The Spirit moved me to think about the fact that what I have more or less dedicated my life to, and many persons surely have dedicated their lives to a similar pursuit, is to make a difference in the world. To make a difference in the lives of persons who we interact with and who we come into contact with on our journey. And as if to confirm this approach, I was going through the scriptures one morning and I came upon a passage which in my Bible, just after the Beatitudes, Matthew.
Brown explained that the broad headings of the plan are a resurgence of sports, revival of culture, arts and entertainment, advancement in education, transformation in health and public health, revolution in jobs, employment and entrepreneurship, enhancement in public infrastructure and community facilities, improvement in housing protection and promotion of public welfare, organization of communities and institutional development, strong leadership and active representative on all issues. He further elaborated on some of the specifics for sports, which include a $400,000 upgrade of the Sandhill Panyard Hard Court and Center and $1 million upgrade to the Dorsetshire Hill playing field.
Project. We are actually executing phase 1, which is going to cost $175,000. Phase 1 is perhaps almost complete, and from there we move into the next phases to make sure we have a fully functional facility that is befitting the people of Sandhill and East Kingston in general. Now, still within the ambit of sports, we're proposing $1 million development project for the Dorsetshire Hill playing field. And Brother
Brown also aims to provide CPA lessons for students of schools in the constituency free of cost and $250,000 in scholarships and bursaries, as well as a school and program for the constituency.
We now want to get on board with a full-blown program for advancement in education. And the 3 points to note here, in education again, as highlights from the broader portfolio, free CPA lessons at all primary schools of the constituency as required. We want to make sure that the students are properly prepared for that important academic hurdle. We are making a commitment here to provide, over the course of the next 5 years, up to $250,000 in scholarships, bursaries, and a school aid program. So we put in $250,000 on the constituency front.
Brown said he plans to do a lot more for the East Kingston constituency in the next 5 years. And the NDP's candidate for East Kingston, Fitzgerald Bramble, said the upcoming general elections is the most important in many years and will give Vincentians an opportunity to change the course of history and change the course of their lives for the better with an NDP administration.
Far too long have Vincentians endured pain, hardship, a high level of unemployment which is unprecedented, a high incidence of poverty which is unprecedented in our country. The Unity Labour Party has been in office for 19 long years. It is simply too long. This is our time to make a difference. This is the time for Vincentians to give the New Democratic Party the opportunity to create the kind of St. Vincent and the Grenadines which we deserve.
Bramble said the ULP has made a number of promises to the Vincentian people which it failed to deliver during its almost 20 years in office and does not deserve another term.
They promised us a new city at Arnisvale. We're still waiting for that. They promised us a Deepwater Harbor down in Rose Place. We're still waiting for that. They promised us a national stadium that is yet to be delivered. They promised us a new hospital, but yet we are still experiencing the worst healthcare system that we have ever experienced in our country. They promised us a geothermal project. All attempts at that project failed miserably, resulting in a loss of millions of dollars.
The NDP candidate said the party's plans outlined in its manifesto point to the core of the problems in the country and to the most effective solutions, which is to grow the economy and create jobs for Vincentians.
The New Democratic Party will provide skills and employment. We will equip our young people for the future and provide them with the education and training to set them up for successful careers. Another aspect of our plan is to invest in local businesses. That is how you grow the economy. When your private sector is vibrant, It generates economic activity, which results in employment and income earning, so that the economy can move, so that people can live.